You're welcome to my YouTube channel Pharmacy with Hemant. Today I am here with the new video including the most useful medical terms. My previous video was on the topic abbreviation used in pharmacy. If you have missed it, please check the link in description given below. If you are new to allied healthcare, you have probably discovered hundreds of important medical words that you have required to memorize. I have compiled some excellent tips and tricks to help you on your way. Most medical terms consist of three basic components, that is, prefix, root word, and the suffix. Prefixes are those terms which comes in front of the root word, and root word are the base of the term, and there is suffix which comes at the end of the root word. When you combine prefix, root word, and the suffix, you can define a specific medical term. So let's begin this video from the prefix a or without. There is an example, akinesia. Akinesia means there is no movement of the voluntary muscles. Akinesia. Another term is there, apnea, that is without breath, or difficulty in breathing or lust in breathing is known as apnea. Another term is there, an. It also means the same, that is without. Anuria. Anuria means there is no urination or no micturition. No output of the urine is known as the anuria. Another term is there, anesthesia, where anesthesia means there is no sensation in the body. There is no sensation. Another is there, acro. Acro means top or extremities. There is one example, that is acrophobia. The fear which you feel due to the height is known as the acrophobia. Another term is there, acromegaly. You might know this person. He is a wrestler named Kali from the India. He has one disease which is known as the acromegaly, which means there is a condition in which your bone growth will be more because of the excess production of the growth hormone. And another is there, acu. Acu means sharp or severe. And there is one term, acupuncture. Acu means sharp. Acupuncture means inserting the thin or sharp needle into our body. And another term is there, acupressure. Acu means sharp and pressure is pressure applied. If pressure is applied, point is known as the acupressure. Another is there, anti. Anti means against or opposed of. Few examples such as antibiotics. Anti means against, antibiotics means the organism. Against any organism, that is against bacteria, are known as the antibiotics. And another term is there, antiepileptic. The drugs which is given against the epilepsy is known as the antiepileptic. Another term is there, antimalarial. The drug which is given against the malaria disease or to treat the malaria is known as the antimalarial. And another word is there, ante, which means before. Antenatal. Before the birth of baby is known as the antenatal. There are some examination before the birth of baby for mother as well as the baby is known as the antenatal. And anterior, towards the surface or on the upper side, is known as the anterior. Another is there, bi. Bi means two or double. Term is there, bilateral. Bilateral means you can divide something in two equal half, is known as the bilateral. You can see one example is there. If you can divide our brain, human brain, into two parts, in left and right, that is known as the bilateral division. And another is there, bilobed. Having two lobes is known as the bilobed. Bi means two and lobed means lobes. One example is there, pituitary gland. You might know that pituitary gland have two lobes. It is known as the bilobed. That is anterior pituitary gland and a posterior pituitary gland. It's the same gland but having two lobes. There is another word, brady, which means slow. And the example is there, bradycardia. Brady means slow and cardia means heart, related with the heart. So decrease in the contraction of the heart muscle is known as the bradycardia. Another term is there, bradyapnea, means slow breathing, slowly breathing or shallow breathing is known as the bradyapnea. If there is breathing less than 12 to 20 per minute is known as the bradyapnea. Another prefix is there, brachio, which means arm, and example is there, brachioradialis muscle. The muscles which is present in arm is known as the brachioradialis muscle. You can see in the example. And another term is there, brachiocephalic artery. The artery which supplies blood, pure blood towards our arms is known as the brachiocephalic artery. And another is there, chemo. Chemo prefix symbolize chemical, and the example, chemotherapy. Chemotherapy means diseases which are treated with the use of chemical is known as the chemotherapy. Especially for the treatment of cancer, this term is used, that is chemotherapy, but actually treatment of any disease using any chemical, that is antibiotic or drug, is known as the chemotherapy. And another term is there, chemosynthetic. By the use of some chemicals, if we are synthesizing some another organic chemical, that it is known as the chemosynthetic. Another prefix is there, chole, which means bile, and there is term polylithiasis. Polylithiasis means, chole means bile and lithia means stone, and the presence of stone in the gallbladder is known as the polylithiasis. And another term is there, cholecystitis. It means inflammation of the gallbladder is known as the cholecystitis. Another prefix is there, col, which means colon. Colon means large intestine. An example is colonoscopy. The examination or observation of colon is known as the colonoscopy. And another term is there, colitis, which means inflammation of colon or large intestine. Another is there, cranio, which means skull. And there is term cranioplasty, which means the surgical procedure used to correct a defect in a bone of the skull is known as the cranioplasty. And another term is there, craniotypes. It is the abnormality that softening or thinning of the skull in the infants or the children's. Another is there, cyst, which represent bladder, and term is there, cystitis. The inflammation of any bladder is known as the cystitis. Where there is itis suffix, it means the inflammation. And you can see in the picture given below, there is a normal bladder and the inflamed bladder, urinary bladder. And another term is there, cystoscopy. The study or the examination or observation of bladder is known as the cystoscopy. Another prefix is there, ecto, which stands for outside. You might have heard the term ectopic pregnancy, which means the embryo or zygote will stay out of the uterus, that is, might be in fallopian tube or towards the cervix, or it will not be in the proper place of the uterus. And another term is there, ectodermal. Ectodermal means outer surface of the skin. And another prefix is there, indo, which stands for inside. Ecto, outside, and indo stands for inside. There are two terms, that is endoscopy, which means observation or examination of the inside structure, that is a tube with camera and light is passed through our GI tract and it is examined till the duodenum. You can see in the picture given above. And another term is there, endometrium. It is the inner layer of the uterus. Another prefix is there, encephalo or encephal, which represents brain. There are terms, example, encephalitis, which means inflammation of the brain, and encephalopathy. If there is any disease related with the brain, it is known as the encephalopathy. And another prefix is there, enteric. Enteric means intestinal. It relates with the intestine. There are a term, that is enteric fever. You might have heard this disease. It is a common disease which is also known as the typhoid, is related with the intestine. And another term is enteric coated tablet. Some tablets which are intended to release and absorb through the intestine. Such medicines are coated with the enteric coating materials. Such tablets are known as the enteric coated tablets. Another prefix is there, epi, which means upon. You might have heard about the epidermis. It is the topmost layer of the skin. You can see in the picture given above. Epidermis means the uppermost layer of the skin. And another term is there, epithelial cell, which means outer lining of the any organs or structure is known as the epithelial cell. And another prefix is there extra, which means beyond or outside of. An example is there extracellular, which is out of from the cell. The fluid which is found out from our cell is known as the extracellular fluid. You can see in the picture given above. And another prefix is there gly, which means sugar. The only sugar which is found in our body is in the form of glucose. There are examples, that is Glyosuria, means the presence of glucose in the urine is known as the Glycosuria. And another is there Glycemia. The presence of glucose in our blood is known as the Glycemia. If there is increase in level of glucose, then it is known as the hyperglycemia, and if the level of glucose in blood is decreased, it's known as the hypoglycemia. And another term is there Haem, which relates with the blood, and the example is Haematology. The study related with the blood is known as the Haematology. And another term is there hemoglobin, means Haem means blood and globin means a protein. A protein which is present in blood is known as the hemoglobin. Another prefix is there hemi, which means half. Example for the prefix hemi is hemiplegia, which means paralysis of the half of our body or partial paralysis. Another term is there hemianopsia, which is also known as the hemianopia, which means loss of vision or blindness in half the visual field, usually on one side of the vertical midline. Another prefix is there, which is hyper, which represents high. For example, hyperthyroidism. The increased level of thyroid hormone in the body is known as the hyperthyroidism. Another term is there hyperacidity. Increase in the acidity in the stomach is known as the hyperacidity. Another prefix is there hypo, which represents low. For example, hypoglycemia. Decrease in the glucose level in the blood is known as the hypoglycemia. Hypo means low, gly means sugar, and emia means blood. Decrease in the sugar level in our blood is known as the hypoglycemia. Another term is there hypothermia. Decrease in the body temperature is known as the hypothermia. Hypoxia. Hypoxia means decrease in the oxygen concentration in our body is known as the hypoxia. Another prefix is there intra, which represents within or inside. For example, intramuscular, intradermal. The injection which are given inside in the muscle is known as the intramuscular, which is given in the dermis layer is known as the intradermal injection. Another prefix is there, which is leparo, represents abdomen. For example, laparoscopy. Laparo means abdomen and scopy means examination or observation. The examination or observation of abdomen by the use of new technology including camera and light is known as the laparoscopy. Another prefix is there, which is lipo, which represents fat. An example is lipemia. Presence of fat in the blood is known as the lipemia. Another term is there lipoma. The lump or tumor present in our body which are made up of fat is known as the lipoma. Another prefix is there mast, which represent breast. For example, mastitis. The inflammation of mammary gland or breast is known as the mastitis. And another term is there mastectomy. The surgical removal of mammary gland or breast is known as the mastectomy. It is usually done if any patient is found to have a breast cancer. Another prefix is there mal, which represents abnormal. For example, malabsorption. If there is abnormal absorption of nutrition, then it is termed as malabsorption. Another term is malnutrition. If there is abnormal nutrition in our body, then it is known as the malnutrition. Another term is there macro, which means large. For example, macronutrients. The nutrients which have the bigger molecular size are known as the macronutrients, such as protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Another term is macromolecules. The molecules which have larger size is known as the macromolecules. Another term is there which is micro, which means small. For example, micronutrients. The nutrients which are required in this small quantity for our normal body function is also known as the micronutrients, such as vitamins and minerals. Another prefix is there, which is myo, which represents muscle. For example, myocarditis. The inflammation of the cardiac muscle is known as the myocarditis. Another term is there, myopathy. If there is any pathological condition related with the muscle, then it is known as the myopathy. Another prefix is there, which is olig, which represents few. For example, oliguria means few output of the urine is known as the oliguria. And another is oligomenorrhea. Oligomenorrhea represents less menstruation cycle in the year. For example, having only 8 to 9 menstrual cycle in a 12 months. Another prefix is there, peri, which represents around. For example, pericardium. Pericardium is the outermost covering layer of the heart. Another term is there, periostitis. Periostitis means it is a medical condition caused by inflammation of the periosteum, which is the layer of connective tissue that surrounds the bone. The another prefix is prost, which is related with the prostate gland. For example, prostatitis. The inflammation of prostate gland is known as the prostatitis. If it is inflamed, it blocks the urethral, which causes difficulty in the passing of the urine. Another term is prostatectomy, which means surgical removal of the prostate gland. Another prefix is pyre, which means fire in the Greek word, or fever. For example, pyrogen. Any organism or chemical which causes fever are known as the pyrogen. And another word is pyrexia. The increase of temperature in body or having fever is known as the pyrexia. Another prefix, tachy, which means fast. For example, tachypnea. Fast breathing is known as the tachypnea. And another term is tachycardia. Increase in the rate of heart contraction is known as the tachycardia. Tachy means fast and cardia means heart. Increase in the contraction of heart is known as the tachycardia. Thank you for watching this video. If you feel this video was useful for you, please like and share. For my new videos, please subscribe my channel and press bell icon so that you can get notification of my new videos on time. My next video will be on the topic root word, which is part of medical terminology. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep watching, be updated. Thank you.